Everyone. My name is Mary Lunetta, and I'm the campaign representative for Sierra Club's National Electric Vehicles Initiative. For those of you who may be less familiar with our organization, Sierra Club is the oldest and the largest environmental group in the country. John Muir founded the Sierra Club in 1892. So I think that makes us 126 years old. And today we have chapters in all 50 states, including Puerto Rico, with over 3 million supporters nationwide. I'm going to take a few moments to go over three main areas of the Volkswagen settlement. I'm going to give an overview of the actual VW settlement and how electric school buses fit in. I'll give a quick summary of state plans, state mitigation plans, which states have prioritized electric school buses or even just school buses in general. And kind of review, I could go in a lot more detail, but I only have a few minutes to give a review of some advocacy strategies that are currently underway in communities across the country to push for electric school bus adoption. So this is a grid of all of the amount of funds that all the states, including tribes and Puerto Rico, will be receiving as a result of the Volkswagen settlement. So after Volkswagen admitted to cheating on diesel emissions tests, the automaker is now been forced to pay more than $15 billion with a B, and that includes $2.7 billion to the states only for investment in mitigation plans that reduce harmful emissions from the transportation sector, and really to help offset the 40 times more pollution that VW illegally dumped into our air. So the amount of money that a state receives in the settlement funds, it varies, as you can see on the screen. It's really determined by how many VW cheating models were registered in that state during that period of time. So some states like California get a really high amount, whereas other states like Wyoming get less, but it's still in the millions of dollars. So there's a lot of money here that we can work with and invest in amazing new technologies that keep us cleaner and our air cleaner. Under the Volkswagen settlement, all states have the option to invest a maximum of 15% in electric vehicle supply equipment, such as charging infrastructure, also known as EVSE. So when you do some research on the Volkswagen settlement, you see that term come up a lot. So I just wanted to bring everyone up to speed on what that means. How the remaining 85% of the funds are spent is really up to the discretion of the state's lead agency within very narrow parameters. They can invest in mitigating air pollution at ports and rail yards, if the state even has ports and rail yards, repowering or replacing medium and heavy duty trucks, and or replacing or retrofitting transit or school buses. States have the option to either repower these vehicles with upgrades, I'm using the quotes, to propane or clean diesel, both a misnomer and an oxymoron. But retrofits aren't fully covered by the settlement terms. They receive partial funding, whereas replacing with electric trucks or buses, it's fully funded by the settlement. So, and because electrification is far more effective at reducing harmful air pollution from transportation, Sierra Club really encourages states to prioritize electrification. Plans are being drafted right now, and they really vary with level of detail. All lead agencies are required to solicit input from the public. So any stakeholder, whether you are a mom with school children, or if you own a business that a supply charging a company, everyone has an opportunity to make their voices heard on how they'd like to see these funds be spent in their state and their community. And this is happening now for many states, not all states, in a myriad of ways and for varying periods of time. Every state's a special snowflake. Some are 30 days long with public input opportunities. Others are rolling over the course of many months. And many states still have yet to offer formal public input opportunities. We're tracking all of this closely. So at the end, if you have any questions about what's happening in your state, definitely reach out to me. I'll share my contact information. After the lead state agency releases their draft plan, public input is solicited by many ways, whether it's a web form, it could be just sending a message to a particular email, it could be in-person public hearings, surveys, official requests for proposals, and more. After stakeholder input, the plans are set to be finalized And really that's really up to the discretion of the state. It can happen as soon as now, which we saw in Washington state and in Georgia, I believe, to later in 2018, with really the majority of states expected to release their plans by this summer. So that's a little bit of information around timeline. As of today, there are 19 states that have released draft plans. These aren't final plans, these are general guidelines. And among those, 8 states have indicated they prioritize school bus investments. Sierra Club has chapters in 41 states engaged in VW settlement advocacy on some level. And what we're really seeing through the work of our chapters is where it may be politically less feasible for electric transit bus investments, electric school buses are far less controversial because everyone, regardless of politics, really cares about the health and safety of children. Where there is resistance to electric school bus adoption, the reasons we're seeing pop up are typically because electric school buses are more expensive upfront at the their initial adoption than their dirty fuel counterparts. But the math shows that they're less expensive to fuel and repair than their diesel counterparts, making the lifetime cost of the lifetime cost of fossil fuel buses far more expensive than electric school buses. Diesel buses, as many I'm sure you know, diesel buses rely on expensive fuel and maintenance, which electric buses don't need. So getting these facts and information out into the world and in the hands of state leadership is really important to dispel myths being pushed by the oil and gas industry and really to invite a more informed conversation at all levels of the public. And so on the right-hand side of the screen is just a quick snapshot of what's going on in some states. In Washington, they released and finalized their plan, and it's excellent. They prioritize electrification overall and have committed 45% of their funds to transit and school buses. The public input opportunity closed in January, but despite that, you can still schedule a call with lead agency representatives to have your voices heard. In Colorado, they released their draft plan and it does prioritize school buses, but no fuel type is specified. So the public comment period also hasn't been announced, and that's a really good opportunity to have people turn out and really advocate for electric school bus adoption. In Oregon, they're going to be replacing 450 public school buses. The comment period also just closed in January, but there's still an opportunity to engage because the legislature, which is a unique detail here, the legislature will be deciding the further details of what in next year of whether or not they go with retrofits or replacing with electric. And in Arizona, there's a lot of work as well around influencing the draft plan. It has not been released yet. That's a rolling public input deadline. So if anyone in Arizona is on today's webinar and you'd like to advocate in your community, please do so. This is the time. Also in Florida, no draft plan or public input opportunities have been announced yet. So we're still waiting to hear. But we're also hearing rumors that the state plans to prioritize school buses in their plan. So stay tuned for Florida's details. If anyone would like more information on the VW settlement, Sierra Club has a really helpful website. The link is right there on the screen, but if you have trouble remembering it, you can just type in Google Sierra Club and VW settlement. It'll come right up. We have we give an overview of the settlement. We have an FAQ, frequently asked questions. We have fact sheets as well as on all areas of the settlement. We also have press releases that you can use to draft or letters to the editor that you can use as a template. And we also link to the amazing Washington state plan in case you wanted to reference it in any of your advocacy efforts in your community. So yeah, if you have any questions, please reach out to me. My email address is there on the screen. So if you have any questions about the settlement or how stakeholders can join or start advocacy efforts in your community, definitely reach out to me. Thanks.